On this James the Bike Guy, we're taking a look at the brand new Rockshox 35. This is an entry-level price point into the Enduro and all-mountain fields with burly 35mm stanchions and a few ways to help keep this fork reasonably inexpensive. So we're going to check out this fork, do a deep dive into the features and design, and of course, we're going to find out what this weighs. But before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. That way you can see more videos like this into the future. So taking a look at this fork, you would not be the only one that would check this out and go, well, that just looks like a Pike or a newer version of the Revelation. And that is roughly true. Now, I'll get into that a little bit further in, but this fork runs 35mm stanchions with these nice black stanchions. Your lowers are going to be very burly. They're going to have a very Pike or Revelation-esque lower. And this fork comes in because you've got a Judy level fork that's more XC. And what used to be the Recon and Revelation, the Recon's been mostly replaced with some of the things that the Judy does. And the Revelation went from being an inexpensive fork to now a mid-level fork. They needed a 35mm chassis in a lower price point. So one of the neat things that makes this fork a pretty interesting buy is it's sort of a parts bin of a lot of different components that are in other forks. So this runs the Debonair air spring like you might get in a higher end fork, straight aluminum stanchions, an aluminum lower, and then the damper unit on this is going to run the tried and true motion control damper. And that motion control damper is going to have a few steps. It's going to have a lockout to it. It's of course going to be rebound adjustable with a nice rebound adjust down here. These parts have been on other forks for quite some time. We know that Debonair system makes for a really supple ride. We know the motion control not as active as say a Charger damper. We know it's going to be super durable. And I think it's just going to build up to be a pretty decent setup. Now this fork can run up to an 81mm or 3.2-inch tire and a 27.5 plus, because the one we're looking at here is a 29er, but it can also run a 2.6 29er tire pretty easily. I should also mention this one we're looking at is in their 44mm offset. It can come both in 44 and 51mm, so it's nice to see that this new fork does the new offset standard that many bikes are going to, as well as they're still offering that 51mm offset as well. Down on the lower, you'll notice this is a post mount with a minimum rotor size of 180 and a maximum rotor size of 220, so you're going to have lots of range of braking that you can go onto the bike. The fork is 27.5 or 29er and comes in a travel range of 100mm all the way up to 160. So that means this fork's going to be effective and pretty burly in a huge wide range of suspension travels. So now that we've taken a look at this Rockshox 35, let's go ahead and find out what this weighs. So we'll turn our scale on, and then we'll do tare, so that way we're starting at 0, and you'll see that this fork with through axle is going to weigh in at 2,258 grams. Now I should mention that's actually pretty reasonable. So if we compare that to a Fox 36, also in a 150 travel, that fork on my scale weighed 2101. A Rockshox Recon RL on my scale weighed in at 2256, and a Rockshox Judy, which is a smaller stanchion size, 32mm, actually weighed in heavier at 2,350 grams. And finally, if you compare this to a Pike, the only one I've looked at is a 27.5, so that saves some weight, but the Pike's definitely lighter, coming in at 1846. Well, thanks for watching this video on the Rockshox 35. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And while you're at it, leave a thumbs up. It lets me know you enjoyed the video.